So, hello and welcome to our very first episode of Exploring with Anna Voices of Tomorrow, a new podcast series dedicated to talking about all things future that are going to impact our lives in the years to come. So, today we have a very special guest who is a prominent figure in the domain of space exploration, Neal Lachman, the founding CEO of Titans Universe and Titans Space Industries. Neal, thank you so much for joining in today and finding the time to do this fun podcast. And
Likewise, thank you for inviting me.
you're very welcome. So, I actually want to start with a very simple and straightforward question. So, can you tell us a little bit more about Titans Universe? What exactly do you do? And actually, how close are we to the space tourism?
Yeah, so Titan Space Industries is part of Titan's Universe. We found that funny, we have all kinds of parts. One is Titan's World, one is Titan's Earth. But Titan Space, what we're going to talk about, is part of Titan's Universe, and we decided to pause all our other large projects to focus on the space industry. So we are with 15 co-founders, and yeah, that's the plan is to go big in space industries.
Wow, but why all of a sudden? Because I know you do have a lot of other projects, like you have a very innovative concept for the very luxury, let's say, resorts, luxury services for the ultra wealthy.
Yeah.
But why all of a sudden you decided to pivot completely to space?
So, because the time is right. So, you see, we learned in the past 20 something years that it's always good if the others invest, right? And educate. And we jump on and we then improve on models.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, yeah, there are tens of billions of dollars being invested in the space industry now by private industry, by a commercial market. And that means there is a whole lot of groundwork being done.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you talk about space tourism.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Correct.
explain more about that
Yeah.
in detail. But you don't need to explain people anymore what space tourism is. You can explain now how, but you don't
Okay.
need to explain anymore that it's fun, that it's, the overview effect. In fact, people are explaining to me
Really?
how amazing it is. So it's that's a part of world consciousness that is already there. It's present. So that's the public perception.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is the what I said, the tens of billions of dollars being invested in the space industry. Um, so we are benefiting from an ongoing evolution in the space industry.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
I have a big background in the
Mm-hmm.
space industry,
Okay.
almost 30 years ago. So um, we're not newcomers in the space industry.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I financed the first
Mm-hmm.
pilot of satellite broadband. Um, that was in 1999
Wow,
with
that's quite a time
Eutelsat.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there was Eutelsat,
Uh-huh.
which was part by back then of I believe British Telecom,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a
Okay.
technology test for a high bandwidth download link,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in 1999. That was satellite broadband pilot. And that same partner, Eutelsat, is the first company 3 years later, in 2002, that launched the first real satellite internet broadband capacity. So we were 3 years ahead, and I financed that. We had big plans with satellite internet for people worldwide. But then, of course, this was end of 1999, and then, of course, you know what happened in March, April 2000, right? We had the whole telecom internet bust.
Exactly.
So that was kind of a big. We invested almost $5 million in total, $2.5 million in marketing alone.
Back in that day, I mean, that was a substantial amount of money. That was a crazy amount of money back then.
Yeah, so if you open the Economist, the Millennium Edition, I think it was the most expensive advertising edition back then. If you open the spread of the Economist, you'll see our advertisement a double.
That's incredible.
We did a lot of crazy things then, and we thought, we thought we're going to rule the world with satellite broadband and so on. But first of all, the technology wasn't ready yet. And second of all, we got this huge economic recession and the telecom and internet bust. So instead of that, we went with fiber to the home, big. But that's another story. So I have, we were in 2000, we were at the General Electric Satellite Broadband Forum. This is, I think, end of March, beginning of April. We saw, we were having lunch at the Vinoy Renaissance Resort in St. Petersburg, Florida, where that General Electric's satellite communications broadband forum was being held. And we saw live on TV the market crash.
Oh my God.
We saw the CNN edition with Lou Dobbs. I can remember it very vividly. And we saw the market crash, the NASDAQ.
It was crazy. What you felt at that time, especially considering the huge investment.
I felt poor.
I bet so. But Neal, listen, you just mentioned one very important thing when it comes to the space exploration, that today you encounter people who actually tell you about space tourism. So the perception of the coolness of being in space has changed entirely. However, what I want to understand is actually how close we are technically to realizing the space tourism itself. Is it something feasible? Is it something that you expect to become in the very near future? And another very important element about it, which I think a lot of people question, how affordable is it going to be, the space travel?
Of course, and tourism is already here, but indeed it's not affordable. So we will have a Virgin Galactic spaceplane ride next month again. And that is with Virgin Galactic, of course. But that is, $250,000 to $400,000 per ticket. But you could go now. So you could also go with SpaceX, Axiom. You could go to the International Space Station, but that's cost 50 million plus, or 20 to 50 million. So there is a niche market already, and indeed, it's not affordable. $400,000 for a ticket is not affordable. Now there are other kind of space, near space tourism offers coming up, like
Mm-hmm.
Worldview, that will be 50,000. If they manage to do that, it will be amazing. And that will be with a balloon. So it will be like a large stratospheric balloon with a gondola hanging underneath it. So that's Worldview for 50,000. I hope they succeed. Then there's Space Perspective, same concept, with a balloon to the edge of space, which is, like 33 kilometers altitude, 100,000 feet plus. And that will cost $250,000 per ticket. Now, that's also not very
Mm-hmm.
affordable. I find the $50,000 plan of Worldview quite attractive. I would go myself.
Okay.
250,000, I don't know, so the thing is, how close are we to widespread space tourism? Now, with
Mm-hmm.
the $50,000 price, that would be going really well. But there are thousands of people who are already reserved, who have already reserved those tickets. Worldview and Space Perspective. They have sold already 200 million plus dollars worth of tickets, pre-sale, right? And the first
Wow.
flight will be 2 years from now.
Wow.
Yeah, Space Perspective and Worldview, and that's balloon ride, right? But it's still space. But they say edge of space, but it's still space. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that it's coming there. However, for the public at large, because
Mm-hmm.
the capacity of those balloons are, of course,
Limited.
limited. The yeah, really a large number of people that can go.
Uh,
It's not going
yeah.
every day, most likely, and even if they do every day, it's every
Mm-hmm.
day 8 people, right? It's huge progress, but it's still not a mass market. Now, what we have done, which I am really proud of, is that we have said, okay, we're going to solve a lot of problems with one vehicle, and we call that the Titans Spaceplane. Now we're going to build a whole fleet of it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
hope one day we'll have hundreds of them, but each one is very expensive. But anyway, the Titan Spaceplane
Mm-hmm.
is like a massive Airbus A380.
Mm-hmm.
It will be double decker, and it
Okay.
can carry 330 people per flight.
Wow.
So we have said, you know what? Let's not go for the expensive pricing, which
Mm-hmm.
we were planning before.
Right.
Uh, but then one of our launching astronauts, Vaseema,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
who's going to the moon with me in the near future,
Okay.
she was pushing
Mm-hmm.
about the affordability of it.
Okay.
So we decided to, instead of going for, let's say, 25, 50, 60 people, which we were planning in that huge
Mm-hmm.
space plane,
Right.
information is on our website and in
Mm-hmm.
my newsletter on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of going for a few $100,000 per flight, we were thinking, you know what? We have this capacity. Let's use it. Let's use this the space in the space plane to the benefit of people. Um, and yeah, we ended up going to a configuration. It's all on our
Mm-hmm.
website.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and we decided, yeah, let's not go for $250,000 per flight, which Virgin Galactic does. And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost characteristically, it's almost similar
Mm-hmm.
to Virgin Galactic's suborbital flight. However, with our flight, you
Mm-hmm.
are going to be in space longer.
Okay.
being weightless, and uh, um, you will experience more of the world because we'll go from one site
Mm-hmm. Right.
to, for example, Dubai or Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we thought, okay, you know what? Let's just price it at $25,000
Mm-hmm.
each,
And it
and
makes
that's
commercial
very
sense.
affordable.
Yeah, it is affordable.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
yeah. And to make things worse for me, but for the very good for the public, is that we have said also thanks to Vaseema.
Uh-huh.
Vaseema was uh, a major sounding board because she came with ideas, with feedback from people that she was talking with. Because I talk
Okay.
with a lot of people, but
Right.
they don't really tell me the ins and outs because they think I may slap them or so. But Osima came back with a feedback: make it so that people can really afford it. So we have decided to make that $25,000 ticket
Right.
financeable. So we finance it then for you. So you can pay
What's
us
the
in
catch?
installments. Yeah,
Wow.
it's something that nobody does. So we're still working out the details. That's
Okay.
why we're not promoting it.
Right.
And I didn't have time to
Mm-hmm.
review our um, recommendations yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, but we will make it affordable. So if you want to pay us in a monthly installment for the next few years, then we can arrange that. And
It's a cool idea,
you
actually.
asked,
It's a really
thank
cool
you.
idea
So
because it
yeah,
will really motivate the market. It's brilliant.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. And it's all because of the feedback that we got, and especially with
Right.
Seema, uh, uh, because she is a launching astronaut. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so you asked this was a very long dwindled
Mm-hmm.
answer, but you also asked about when. So
Correct. Yeah. When?
few of them are already available, the non-affordable ones. Space Perspective and Worldview with the balloons will be, I think, operational in 2 years.
Okay.
Ours, we
Mm-hmm.
want to be flying at the end of 2027, mid to end of 2027, which is 3.5 years from now.
Okay.
So that sounds very soon. It's kind of soon, but
It's
we
kind
have
of
been
so,
working
yeah.
on this already 3 years. So we have a lot of good contacts
Mm-hmm.
with the industry, and we
Mm-hmm.
can make a lot of things happen. So the preparational phase is behind us now, including the critical design review, not only for the space planes, but also for
Right.
the rest of our
Uh-huh.
vehicles.
Okay.
So uh, we are now, and this was very important. A lot of people don't know. Well,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of trolls on internet are saying, "Hey, Neal, why aren't you building something? You are full of shit." Right? So
I love commentators on it.
yeah, so they say,
So
"Neal, you're
funny.
full of shit because you're not building something." So
Okay.
we are not in the business to prove anything to these crazy trolls, but it's a valid question, of course.
Yeah.
But we are saying, look, we don't want to go bankrupt tomorrow, right? Because we are running around like headless chickens, right? I'm a strategist. I'm a pragmatist. I am a number crunching asshole. You won't convince me with beautiful stories and beautiful visions. I am planning for the future. I'm planning this to, build a feasible, profitable, even crazy profitable company.
Wow.
And the preparation, the strategic propositioning is very important. We could have had fancy offices all over the world if I wanted that, if we needed that. We didn't need it. We were reviewing documents, we were reviewing analysis, we were reviewing proposals. So we didn't need to build engines 3 months ago, 6 months ago. As a matter of fact, we weren't ready for it yet. We didn't need to build airframes, right? We didn't need to develop technology or software.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to happen now. So a few months ago, we sent out an RFI because we have an MOU with a spaceport in the USA.
Okay.
And but the scale that we can do there, we will do something there, but the scale that we can do there is limited, and we are not the boss there. So we looked at what Musk is doing with Starbase, in
Right.
Boca Chica. We said, that's genius what that guy did. His own base, and they can do in cooperation with the government what they need to do. So we borrowed a page of that book, and we did the same. And we got amazing offers in the United States to build our own huge spaceport.
Wow.
And the difference is we need a long runway.
Right.
Our runway
Exactly.
must be at least 2,500 kilometers, or 3+ kilometers. So we are looking at 12,000 to 13,500 feet runway. We
Okay.
need that, or we need to be able to build it, or we need to be able to extend an existing runway. And we found
Wow.
them. So we got several offers, like 6, 7, and we are now reviewing them. The deadline was just 2 days ago, on May 6th, and
Okay.
we got a lot of offers, and we
Okay.
are and some asked for an extension. So we will most likely receive 10, 12 proposals worldwide, and we are selecting at least one in the United States, and it's
Okay.
amazing. I already know which one we are going to choose most likely, because it's amazing, and that means we can now build our base.
Okay.
So of course, building structures doesn't happen overnight. So we'll buy the land, or lease the land,
Right. Mm-hmm.
um, and then we'll start building temporary structures. Start building there. So we borrow a lot from the Starbase concept that SpaceX did in Boca Chica, but it will be ours, and that's powerful. So we
It
were
is.
patient,
Yeah.
and we were strategically positioning ourselves and not running around like headless chicken.
I think, yeah, actually what you are saying is completely different from the let's say, current polemic established in the business environment, and especially in the startup community, where they literally force you build fast, launch fast, or
Exactly.
you're going to lose the
Yeah.
opportunity. But I
Yeah.
deeply not only sympathize, but I can deeply relate to your approach, because instead of running
Thank
like
you.
a headless chicken and then experiencing all the hardships of going bankrupt and running out of money,
Yeah.
it's way better to wait, to plan it properly, like work not hard
Yeah.
but work smart. That is in my opinion, that's the right
Exactly.
right approach, especially in such
Exactly.
costly domain. But
Exactly.
you actually started to
So
cover a little bit on the challenges that you experienced, so, and the strategies that you
yeah.
overcame, that helped you to overcome them. But maybe you can elaborate a little more, because I mean, you are trying and you are building essentially something which is a complete paradigm shift in the space industry. So your spacecraft
No.
is a completely new, let's say, you are diverting from the conventional rockets at the moment. So it's already a challenge for the industry to accept. So for sure, you have probably experienced a lot of like challenges, problems, starting from maybe funding support, gaining government approvals. And I'm sure you had pretty many technical setbacks. So can you just talk a little bit about that, and how do you manage to overcome them effectively and stay on track with your vision?
Yeah, great. Yeah. So I have to break this down.
I
Yeah,
know,
we
I
had
love long
challenges.
questions.
Yeah, and you'll
my,
get long answers.
my
So,
specialty is
um,
a long question.
so I need to remember that all that. So, uh, first of all, indeed, government cooperation. I'll
Hmm.
give you an example of how we moved toward it.
Okay.
So we have communications now with a lot of high-ranking officials in a lot of places,
Hmm.
and the most important, of course, will be and is the United States. If you go on LinkedIn and you want to
Hmm.
see who is in a particular industry, you'll see that I am connected most likely to them.
Hmm.
Um, so we have direct access to a lot of people, but that doesn't guarantee success, of course, right? Um, but what we did, for example, with the RFI, we
Hmm.
made it clear that we need government support. And for example, the state of California is
Hmm.
awesome. You get the governor's office, business development team, Go-Biz.
Hmm.
They are awesome. And that is directly under leadership of the governor, right? So you have huge support from one of the world's largest economies,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So I cannot tell too much about what we're going to do and how,
Hmm.
why, and where, but this is just an example. Um,
Okay.
uh, so the challenges that we had is, for example, yes, in the beginning, a few years ago, like 2 years ago, when I started publicly being critical of, for example, rocket industry,
Hmm.
Starship especially, you got a lot of fans, rocket fans, and also Starship fans that were, saying, "Oh, you're just jealous. You're full of shit, and you have never built a rocket." So, and these are all Wikipedia educated, YouTube educated people who think they are rocket scientists, right? And um, and they are all of a sudden lecturing me about you cannot build your space plane. Your space plane is going to be it's a pipe dream and so on. So what we did is for example, I don't like to lose money, right? Or waste money, let alone lose. So we will review everything that is possible, and you rest assured that we will make sure that we're not doing stupid
Hmm.
investment. We're not making stupid investments. We're smart people, as a matter of fact. Our 15 co-founders, we're quite a bunch of smart people. We know business. We know technology. We know disruption. So when it came to the spaceplane, challenge was to be considered legitimate and realistic. So we had to convince a lot of people why the spaceplane will work. So I tried in the beginning with
Right.
some white papers and
Hmm.
analysis to explain. Now, what is the problem? And this is the first part of your question. why not rockets? This is a paradigm shift. Yes, because if you are going into the new space economy with your big plans to colonize space, to build a huge space economy, even a lunar base, even a Mars settlement, then you cannot do it with the conventional concepts. For example, rockets. Now, Elon Musk saw that and he thought, I'm in the rocket business, so I'm going to build a bigger rocket in order to transport a lot of people and a lot of cargo to Mars. So the basic premise of his concept is, okay, you have to transport people and cargo to some place, whether it is low Earth orbit or the moon or Mars, and later maybe beyond. But the structural mistake of this whole industry is to think that rockets will be doing that. Whether it is a rocket that, for example, the Atlas, Falcon, a New Glenn, or Rocket Labs, or SpaceX Starship. Out of all those concepts, why do I focus on Starship? Because that's the most paradigm shifting aspect of the current rocket industry. But it's still not good enough. It's, by the way, I don't think Starship will work, but that's another question. But Starship is not a paradigm shift. It's just an evolution, whether it will work or not. So it's a chemically propelled vehicle. It's never going to be as efficient as it should be. And why is it chemically propelled? Because that's the business they are in, right? And why is it a rocket? Because that's the industry they are in. So we came in fresh with a mindset to be disruptive. So it's not because I wanted to be building space planes that I came into this business. I saw the need for a whole paradigm shift in this industry. I like disruption. I am a pioneer of a few industries, or at least I helped pioneer them. Satellite broadband, 1998, 1999. I invested my own money, my brother's money, my poor brother's money, fiber to the home, right? Free space optics, Wi-Fi, you name it. I was an important part of those developments. I wrote with my team in 2007 the book on next generation communications. We changed the trajectory of a lot of companies and industries. I love disruption because I think I was put on this world to do some disruption. This rocket industry needs disruption because the vision of the whole industry is right. There must be a shift from Earth to also other places, Leo, lunar, Mars, and so on. But you won't do it with rockets. So how then? So I believe, I'm not religious, but I believe in the universe. I come across a lot of beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
that seem like a blessing. Now, for example, space plane. My
Okay.
God, the space planes that these trolls say, "Oh, you cannot build it." The people who built the space plane for the space shuttle system,
Right.
which we call the orbiters,
Uh-huh.
Rockwell International
Okay.
did a report, a study, not a report. They did a study. They did the critical design review up to the analysis. They were even testing stuff before they canceled it because there was no customer anymore. But they
Mm-hmm.
developed the space plane that we are now heavily inspired from, right?
Oh,
So the
okay.
Titan space plane is not our idea. The Titan space plane is not a new concept. It's a fully researched concept
Okay.
that is 45, 50 years old. They knew that they could build it that time, at the same time that they were finishing up the NASA space shuttle orbiters, space planes. So
Right.
the same builders of that space plane
Uh-huh.
built, decided to do this concept, and they came up with the Star Raker. So the Titan space plane is a modern version with modern technologies, with modern materials, with modern engineering, with even modern
Mm-hmm.
propulsion of a 45, 50 years old concept.
Uh,
And those were geniuses.
but it is
So
actually.
it's not new.
Yeah, but Neil, I have a question then. So if this technology already emerged, like let's say 45, 50 years back, why at that time they didn't make this shift towards it rather than developing further the rockets? What prevented it, in your
So
opinion?
well. So yeah, good point. First of all, indeed, they decided to design this concept, the
Mm-hmm.
spaceplane concept, because they thought they will need it. It was because of the NASA and USA government plan to
Mm-hmm.
build a constellation of huge solar power systems.
Okay.
So they needed to have a fleet of workhorses, and they
Okay.
knew that rockets cannot build it.
Mm-hmm.
So they came up with a premise: hey, we cannot do that with rockets, so we need this space plane. So
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of space plane concepts, but this one was very final,
Okay.
almost finalized. And then the government said, stop it, we don't need it, because the Carter administration had
Mm-hmm.
commissioned those plans. Then the Reagan Commission administration came in, and they didn't believe in solar power. You may remember that the Reagan administration tore down the solar panels of the White House roof that Carter had installed. So petty it was. So let alone, the whole constellation of satellites
Mm-hmm.
for solar power. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't need that workhorse anymore. And the
Right.
space program was very limited back then. There
Mm-hmm.
was no Apollo project anymore. There was no real big vision. So they went on with space shuttle
Okay.
system. So that would be adequate for that
Mm-hmm.
time. And they thought that the space shuttle system would be
Mm-hmm.
flying every month, every week, or every few weeks. So there would be a big um, uh, increase, but
Right.
they thought they can do it with the space shuttle system. Now, the whole workhorse
Mm-hmm.
wasn't needed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So then fast forward to today,
Right.
now we are saying, we as Titans Space Industries, we're saying we need it. And that's where we converge space tourism
Okay.
with space launches and space construction, space assembly. The time for a big shift and an acceleration in quantity is
Right.
now, in the next few years. So by 2030, we will need this workhorse. And we are the only company working on this scale of a space transport system, including this big space plane.
But Neil, I have a question because you keep on saying that you feel that the time is now for this acceleration. So why do you think so? What type of signals or what type of, let's say, market understanding gives you this belief that now is the time of the space, that the market is ready, that the technology is ready, that we are basically ready to move to that next step?
Yeah, good point again. You're full of good points. I love it. So
Thank you.
the need, awesome. So Anna, the thing is, it's not me saying it. It's the
Okay.
industry saying it.
Okay.
They are dreaming of a lunar settlement, right?
Okay.
Uh, there are people who dream of, putting 1 million people on Mars, right? Which is
Okay.
not going to happen anytime soon anyway. But the dreams are there. The need is there. A few weeks ago, several of us attended several space conferences online.
Mm-hmm.
One was the Lunar Surface Innovation Consortium, 3 days. And it's full of big plans. They want to settle the moon, right? They want to colonize the moon. So the need is there. Look, of course, you could do things with rockets, right? But on a small scale. We are saying we can colonize the moon
Mm-hmm.
on a large scale. So that is something that is driven by industry passion, industry vision, industry determination. We need
Okay.
to colonize the moon. Now, we are saying, as the company I represent,
Right.
we are saying, look, we don't care whatever happens in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to colonize the moon because we want to mine it. We want to put real estate there. We want to commercialize space. So we are saying, with or without the push from the industry, we
Right.
ourselves as a company are creating an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that we can benefit from. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars worth of revenue that we can get if we are able to build this infrastructure.
But
So,
no,
yeah.
because you are talking about money, which is a very interesting topic because actually everything is driven by money and by the, let's say, commercial interest. So when you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of worth of this lunar economy, what exactly will make part of it? Like from where this money will be coming from?
So there are people who don't believe in lunar mining. They don't
Okay.
believe in it,
Okay.
but they don't know shit. They didn't study it. Excuse my French.
No,
Uh,
like it.
or some say some say, well, if you mine stuff from the moon,
Mm-hmm.
you can use it for space, and that is good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tens of
Mm-hmm.
billions of dollars from an in-space economy. But we are saying, yes, we'll do that too, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll also bring valuable metals and gases and so on to Earth. A lot of people then say, yeah, well, but you will crash the market, right? And we say, we don't think so. Uh, for example, if you could have titanium instead of a lot of this steel and metal stuff, the
Okay.
quality on Earth is going to increase dramatically. So you can create markets with materials that you mine, metals that you mine on the moon, for example. You don't need to necessarily crash the market. But even then, the markets are so big that if we do it on a frequent basis and a large scale, there is no detriment to the local prices or
Mm-hmm.
markets or economies. So there are studies that
Right.
explain
Mm-hmm.
that there are, there is so much on the moon, and mining the moon every day, few million pounds of uh, um, uh, 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 um, mining per
Right.
day, you still won't make a dent in the lunar surface for the next few million years. So, some people are saying, well, if you mine the moon, then it will change orbit. It will change its position,
Okay.
and that doesn't. That's not true. The moon will not be affected by any kind of mining anytime soon.
Uh, because like in regards to the lunar explanation, to the exploration, and to building the colonies, and especially to the mining aspect, I was also thinking, has the construction technology already been tested in space? Like, do we already know what works, what doesn't, and practicality-wise, how this colonization is actually going to happen? Let's say you manage to build your space crafts, your space planes, they can take people to the moon. But again, are we going to build exactly on the moon surface, or there is a different plan? Like, have you thought about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we thought about it. Yeah.
Good, good.
so, so yeah. So let me explain the infrastructure,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
Very briefly. From Earth's surface to the moon, to low Earth orbit, will be a space plane that takes off like an airplane. Then at the top of the uh, troposphere,
Mm-hmm.
it when it reaches the edge of space, um, it becomes a space plane. That takes you to low Earth orbit. In
Okay.
low Earth orbit, we will have our own space station.
Okay.
I designed that space station. It's not final. The
Okay.
critical design review is done, but
Mm-hmm.
soon when we'll do the final
Right.
analysis and
Yeah.
simulations and testing, uh, the specialists will say maybe you need to change this and that, but
Mm-hmm.
the design is to accommodate tanks on the underside of the ring. So all of a sudden we have an orbital fuel depot,
Wow.
and that's crazy. So that space station, so when you take your space plane, for example, you want to go on the moon surface, right? To
Right.
our what we call titania lunar resort or Titania lunar colony.
Mm-hmm.
You take the space plane takes you and your colleagues
Mm-hmm.
uh, to the space station where you transfer.
Right.
Now, in order to go to the moon,
Mm-hmm.
you will take a spaceship. We call it the orbital transporter.
Okay.
And that spaceship will take you to the lunar orbit,
Okay.
low lunar orbit, where we will have another space station, a lunar space station. So you dock there, you
Mm-hmm.
transfer to that space station, and the next day or so, you will be able to take a, an transporter, transporter
Mm-hmm.
that takes you to and from the surface. So
Wow.
there are uh, there there is the space plane for Leo. There's the
Mm-hmm.
spaceship for deep space transport. Then there is the two space stations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luna, Leo, and Luna. And then you have the lunar transporter. That's it. So we designed it in order to
Mm-hmm.
bring a lot of heavy equipment, heavy cargo to and from the moon.
Okay.
That is the whole end-to-end space transport system that we have devised. You know, in the past, I was fascinated by
Mm-hmm.
orbital rings and space station, um, but we canceled those plans. I don't think we'll ever do that. But I still
Why?
love them, but those are too expensive and they are not as flexible as
Mm-hmm.
what we have devised now. So our focus is now on this because it's the most future-proof space transport system. For example, this infrastructure that I told you about just now, the end-to-end cislunar transport system,
Right.
is chemically propelled, the first
Okay.
generation. We are
Okay.
also working and that's part of the science and innovation hub that we will
Mm-hmm.
have at our spaceport. Um, we are working on our own nuclear propulsion. So everything that we do after 2029,
Right.
when we hope to have working prototypes,
Mm-hmm.
everything that we will build from then will have nuclear propulsion, except the space planes, because most
Okay.
likely that will never be allowed by the governments because it would be a nuclear reactor, right? So you don't want to risk that. But everything that is space,
Right.
in space on orbit, will be nuclear propulsion from 2030 onward. So this is the most future-proof space transport system that you can imagine. There are others who have some other plans, but
Mm-hmm.
we internally we call them magical engines, right? They have no basis in reality, or they defy the laws of physics. I want to believe in a lot of stuff, but I don't believe that you can bend or break the laws of physics. Um, so we believe that our systems will be future proof for the next 50 to 100 years.
Wow.
And of course, we will keep improving,
Mm-hmm.
so it will be an evolution.
Right.
And if there is anything crazy going on in terms of engine
Right.
propulsion technology and so on,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be on top of it. So if the competition goes for it, we will go for it also. But we don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the next 6 to 10 years, we don't see any major technological development that can, put people on the moon as
Right.
easily as we can, or on Mars, for example. So, for example, NASA's Artemis system, Artemis mission
Right.
is fantastic. But A, it's too expensive, and B, it's too cumbersome. So this is where we come in. We say, we are disruptors, but we are really thinking parallel to
Okay.
what is now and what we can improve, right? So we have our own Artemis mission. We call it the Selene mission. So while Artemis is costing the taxpayers billions of dollars per year, and it has cost already $25 billion to develop in the last 15, 20 years.
Wow.
Our Selene mission is going to be done for a fraction of that money. Not a fraction, but a substantial less amount. Then there is, for example, the Mars mission, right? People are thinking, when are we going to put people on Mars, right? And we were not going to disclose this until next year, but we have this just announced last week because of the Mars sample return mission that has been suspended until further notice, because NASA is now saying we don't want to spend $11+ billion and wait 15 to 16, 18 years, 2040s, to go and have those samples returned.
Right.
And we were already working on a plan because 2 years ago we already responded to NASA's Moon to Mars mission objectives, RFI. And in our most recent update, which we then explained the Selene mission integration in our infrastructure offer to NASA solution, we are saying that we can do it also to Mars. So we announced the Mars mission, because Mars sample return mission is going to be, otherwise, if other companies do it and so on, will be late 2030s, early 2040s, and so on. We can do it with a crewed mission.
Okay. Yes.
Crewed. We don't say manned anymore because there will be women most likely on it. So we say crewed. We want to be politically correct. So yeah, a crewed mission, because we're saying, look, okay, we can take astronauts with us, and those astronauts can be in conjunction with robotics and AI, and be a perfect symphony, right? It's the most perfect solution. So instead of a full robotic mission, we are proposing a crewed mission. So it's not about 2036, 2040, 2044, or whatever. We're saying we can launch in 2032 with a crew to Mars. And by the way, 2 ships will go to Mars. Hopefully 3.
Why do we need 2 or 3 ships going to Mars at the same time? Is there a practical necessity for that?
A good question again. Yeah, redundancy. So I want to be the first person. I'll be on that mission. I don't want to die on my way there. So we need redundancy. So that's why we do 2 ships, if not 3. I am going to move heaven and earth and the moon to have 3. So it's redundancy, it's safety for the crew, including myself.
So you mean if something happens to one ship, you can easily transfer to another one?
Yeah, well, not easily, but yeah, because there will be a docking
Okay.
mechanism. Um, so that is, from airlock to airlock.
Mm-hmm.
That's a proven technology, but otherwise, the astronauts would have to do an EVA transfer, right? So extravehicular activity means outside the space station, the
Okay.
spaceship. So
Yes.
you'll step out and you'll use your propulsion to go towards the ship that you
Wow.
want to go to. Yeah. So but there will be training. The
Mm-hmm.
training of the Mars mission is 4 years. 4 years. We will start it in due time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it will include a lot of practical stuff. Now, the thing is that we're saying to NASA, we will bring three for the price that we are offering. We will
Right.
take three of NASA astronauts with us, right? And they will also be part of the Selene mission, which is sooner.
Okay.
So all training that you need for Mars,
Mm-hmm.
you could also do in practice, in practical training on the lunar mission. So
Which is
it's
faster
something that
and sooner
nobody
to
else can
build,
offer.
right? When we talk about lunar mission, this is
Yes,
in
exactly.
time frame, it's
Yes,
much
exactly.
faster.
Exactly. Now we could do the moon Mars mission even sooner if it were practical with chemical propulsion. We don't want to risk that. So we don't think Starship will be able to do a Mars mission, for example, right? Because
Okay.
because of chemical propulsion, you need a huge amount of
Mm-hmm.
propellant to take
Yes.
with you for the ride.
Correct.
That's why the Starship has to be so big, right? It's all about payload, but more than payload, it's about
The
the
fuel.
propellant,
Yeah.
the fuel. So that's why we are saying the Mars mission is going to be 2030 onwards. So in 2030, we will launch
Mm-hmm.
a space station with
Okay.
with a whole array of tanks, external tanks on the underside of the ring,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe also on the inside. Uh, but nuclear propelled, we will launch it off to um, Mars
Mm-hmm.
in advance of the crewed mission.
Wow. But Neil, you see, like when you were saying about in general going to Mars, you also mentioned something which is important, robotics. So you believe that in the near future there will be like this symphony between humans, AI, and robotics.
Yeah.
And in view of that, actually, this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Where do you see place of robotics within the space exploration domain? And also on a, let's say, on a more philosophical viewpoint, what is your personal standing on this topic? Do you believe robotics is a pro-human or anti-human technology? Should we support it or should we perceive it as a
Oh yeah,
threat?
most definitely. No, without robotics, there will be no space economy. As simple as that. Uh, so we will use humans
Mm-hmm.
as the supervising and deciding factors, but the workforce, the nuts and bolts, to so to say, will be robotics, autonomous or remotely controlled.
Okay.
But robotics are an an uh, ex, you know, uh, how, essential, crucial part of space exploration. There's no way that you can develop the space economy without robotics. But it starts in low Earth orbit. As a matter of fact, robotic starts even at our spaceport facilities, right? We will use robotics and so on. But you need robotics for low Earth orbit cleanup, for space junk, for example.
That's a big topic, actually. Who picks up the junk?
Yeah, we have an amazing solution for that.
Okay.
I will repost something today or tomorrow. We have to review it again, but we posted something a few months ago about how we will play a part in a space debris cleanup at cost for no profit, because the space planes will be able to go to LEO wherever we need, and then pinpoint where to go and clean up robotic arms. Now, humans cannot do that. Humans can control it, but humans cannot just go up and pick it up and bring it in, right? Or drop it to
You are totally correct.
For re-entry in Earth's atmosphere. You need robots. Also for safety perspective, right? Yeah. Even if I could go out there and grab it with my gloves and bring it in, it is not going to. It is not smart. The smart thing is, for example, why hazardous materials. So those satellites, for example, have toxic gases. Now, and the movement is most likely, for example, it's moving, right?
Right.
And it's dangerous. So it's gases, and the movement is dangerous. So a robot will be able to go with the motion of the spacecraft, grab it, and sensors will know what kind of gases are there, and prepare everything inside. So we grab it with the space plane, robotic arms, or we send a space dog, most likely, and then bring it into the payload cargo bay of the space plane. We then bring it back to Earth. We don't want to have them burned up in our atmosphere, especially now, because we are wiser now. The environmentalists, scientists have now done studies that they say, look, that game of burning up in re-entry is not smart. It's detrimental to our atmosphere and the environment because of toxic materials and gases, right? So we can bring them back to Earth for recycling purposes. Or we can bring them to the moon if maybe we can do it, if we want to do it.
Okay, Neal, look, I actually just have one last question, because I want to understand why space? What is in space for you? Why this deep passion and deep addiction? Can you just talk a little bit about it? What's your
Okay,
vision?
here comes an asshole answer, okay? A lot of people will hate me for this. I think, so I have a silly idea. I want to be the world's first trillionaire. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't care, but I want to. And space will make it happen. So it's not about the grand vision of saving humanity or so. No, I want to be the world's first trillionaire, and I think space economy will get me there. On the other hand, if we talk about benefits to humanity besides this human, space has already been so beneficial to humanity. right? MRI scans that saves people's lives, for example, are
Right.
because of developments in the space sector. GPS, right? Without
Correct.
GPS, you and I would be lost here and there, right?
Pretty
So
much,
it's
yeah.
so practical. Um, there was a whole NASA section that
Mm-hmm.
talks about the benefits of the space industry for humanity, what it does for Earth and
Mm-hmm.
people. People should study it, or at least skim through that. There are so many benefits to humanity in this space industry. So coming back then to why I have done it, why I am planning this, it's so much fun, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's also our chance to make a huge contribution to an industry that is going to be so big. There are studies saying $1.8 trillion by 2040, right? Trust me, it will be tenfold that. And I want to be a big part of that. So uh, I believe, so I don't want to be arrogant. A lot of
Right.
people say
Yeah.
that I'm arrogant and an asshole, but
I don't think
I
so.
am put on this world. Thank you.
I think
I
you're very
think I'm put
pragmatic,
on this
actually.
world.
You're
Thank
very
you.
pragmatic.
I think so too. So,
This is what I
but
like. Yeah.
I think we all have a calling, and I think I should use my talents uh, to do this. I can do it. It's needed. I love disruption. I love to go beyond the known realm. And what is more crazier than building a city on the moon? So I can build a city on Mars sooner than Musk. I'm telling you. But I am not fascinated by Mars as much as I am fascinated by that satellite of ours. And we can look at it. And I think sometimes, wow, I am going to help build a city on the moon. Now, how crazy is that? So, if you want to talk about the metaphysical, the philosophical part, that
Mm-hmm.
is it. It fascinates me that I am in a position
Right.
that I am working on at least a plan, and of course I am going to
Mm-hmm.
do it. But I am working on the plan to build a city on the moon, not just a little base, but a huge
So,
city
uh,
on the moon.
okay, but
It's
tell me,
crazy.
time frame, what is feasible? When do you think it can happen? How many years do we need?
Oh, so we have the time frames in our infographics. When you go
Mm-hmm.
to our website, you'll see it. When you see the buttons, you'll see it's there. The time frames are there. So the space planes will be operational, most likely in experimental phase by end of 27.
It's very close.
The
Okay.
spaceships will be built soon after that. The first generation we're talking about. The space
Right.
stations also.
Mm-hmm.
So because when you have the space planes, and parallel to building the space plane, that's why we need a huge spaceport, right? Facilities. Because we're going to build our spaceships also parallel to the space planes. We're going to build our space stations parallel to the modules,
Right.
parallel to the space station, space planes. We're going to build our most likely our own rovers, our
Mm-hmm.
own big, massive pressurized truck. We are going to build most likely in-house or at least with a partner at our facilities. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, once you have the space plane and all those modules and
Right.
all those other vehicles,
Correct.
spacecraft ready
Yes.
to go, you could launch you could launch crazy amounts every few days. So it's no longer a time constraint anymore. So we will have a lot of parallel
Right.
development and building going on to
Right.
the space plane.
Mm-hmm.
Because once the space planes are operational, man, we can build we can construct one space station every few weeks if we wanted to. It's crazy. It's beyond imagination.
Look, one thing I wish for is to see it in my lifetime. I
Oh,
want
you
to
will.
see, yes, I want to see those images that we were shown in Star Wars and things like that. I want to see.
Yeah.
I hope I'll
No,
live till that time.
oh, don't worry. It's going to happen in the next 5 years. Come on.
Really?
You're
Love your
you're
optimism.
what? You're what? 2021? It's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's not optimism.
Neil,
It's
thank
not
you.
optimism.
Yeah.
I'm a pragmatic planner. I'm a strategist. The only
Mhm.
thing that could hamper us is not development or engineering or technology readiness, it's government. Is the
Oh,
only thing. And to be honest, government needs this, right?
correct. Yeah.
NASA doesn't know it yet, but they need this more than ever. Space Force needs space planes. Air Force needs the space planes. They are all in love with Starship now, but they are now realizing Starship is a pipe dream. And I'm not bitching on Starship because I am
Mm-hmm.
jealous of it, but it's not pragmatic. We have several analysis out there explaining why. Um, but the Air Force needs a point to point on Earth. Now, you can't do that with this crazy skyscraper rockets, but you could do it easily with space planes. So there are a lot of powerful partners that need us to succeed. Otherwise, the Chinese will do it. Well, I'll do it anyway, with or without them, in some way or the other. But the Chinese
Right.
may win this race if they do something similar. They
Mhm.
won't, most likely, but there is this huge uh, move in the space industry. We are on a parallel track with the government to do
Mm-hmm.
this. There are several major portals to
Okay.
go through with the government. We have been
Mm-hmm.
there. Um,
Right.
we know what to do, and we are doing it already. So it is going to happen before you're 25,
Wow.
in the next 5 years.
That's I look let let's finish that on this very optimistic note that in the next 5
Okay.
years we will have a lot of, let's say,
Yeah,
finalized
for sure.
development in the space domain. But Neil, on a
Yeah,
personal note, thank you so much for finding the time today to do this first
my
podcast
pleasure.
and
My pleasure.
personally. I wish you only best of luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you.
And, I hope that all your time frame, like you envision, it's going to come true.
Thank you. I appreciate, and thank you for the invitation, Anna.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, take care.